Hi cuties, my name is Hanako Kozumi and this is the channel Nerdy Nekoma. Everything here is about Haikyuu chat stories and fanfic. Thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Welcome to today's video, which is a KuroKen Fluff one-shot, I promise a lot of fluff, that is called Just This One Night With You. Like I said, lots of fluff, maybe a little bit of hard comfort, but other than that, let's jump straight into it. Kenma spent almost his entire life inside his house because he has a chronic illness. His immune system is weak and he has to be very careful when going outside. The bluish light of his monitors was the only thing illuminating the dark room. Occasionally, a rush of colors would flicker on the screens. In front of them sat a young boy, maybe 16 years old. He looked tired and pale, but his eyes glowed with excitement and concentration. His fingers moved over the keys of the controller in his hand, and he pressed the different combinations at a record speed. It was games like this that were the reason that he didn't mind being locked inside. That, and the fact that he was never particularly good with people, and the outside world was full of those. He smiled, thinking about how Kuro would laugh when he told him that. The older boy lived in the house next to him and made it his personal goal ever since he knew that Kenma lived here and couldn't leave to make the blonde smile. He was careful to sanitize his hands and wear a mask when visiting him. He took all the precautions, but other than most people who visited the younger, he still treated him normally. Not like he was fragile, like he was made from glass or something alike. His eyes were full of excitement and affection whenever he looked at Kenma instead of pity. Kuro was the only reason why Kenma was sad that he couldn't leave the house. He once saw the older play volleyball in his garden, and even though it looked awfully exhausting, he wanted to join and play with him. Kuro smiled and laughed while playing. It was so different from his smile inside, so carefree. Kenma wanted to see and hear that laugh over and over again and be there with him. The older managed to sneak him out once, and it was so much fun, even though Kenma complained the whole time until Kuro carried him the whole way. He looked out for Kenma and made sure his needs were met. Nothing happened and Kuro proved to be very capable to care for him. They still got a lecture from their parents. Mainly Kuro, because Kenma's parents thought he was something like a fragile, pure angel that couldn't do anything wrong, and Kuro was the bad guy who corrupted him. It was stupid, and he hated it. Ever since that day, they only ever met inside, and often at night, since his parents still didn't like Kuro. But that didn't stop the black-haired boy with a cheeky grin. Kenma paused the game as soon as he heard the familiar sound of pebbles against his window. That's so cheesy, you know that, right? Kuro laughed. Hello to you too, kitten. You could have just knocked. The taller gasped dramatically. Do you not appreciate my great romantic gesture? Kenma rolled his eyes, but a small smile tugged at the corners of his lips. He turned around and picked the controller back up. A few seconds passed, but the familiar sound of Kuro climbing through the window never came. Aren't you going to come inside? A slight hint of worry underlined his words. Not today, kitten. Kenma walked back to his window confused and with a disappointed frown on his face. His expression quickly changed to a mixture of shock and excitement when he saw the backpack in Kuro's hand. Kuro's smile could have competed with the stars with how bright it was. It's your birthday in a few hours after all. Really? Kenma was at a loss for words, but his eyes began to sparkle at the idea Kuro was suggesting. Really? I want to be the first one to congratulate you on your 17th birthday. The other laughed. You're always the first one, for more than 7 years by now. True, but this time I want to make it special. He looked down nervously. His cheeks were tainted by a warm pink. I have something for you, a present, and I want to give it to you in person, outside where it's just the two of us. Kenma felt his own face heat up. Okay. Come on, I help you. He helped Kenma prepare for that little adventure and made sure he had everything he needed. The younger has to wear a special mask and gloves when going outside. Kuro wrapped him in a warm jacket, even though it was a warm October night. I also have some blankets in the backpack, so just tell me if you get cold. Okay. Then he put the backpack on Kenma's back and helped him to climb out of the window. Kenma could feel his heart racing in his chest. This was the first time in years that he was outside, even though it was only his garden. Are you sure you want to do this? You could get in serious trouble. I'm sure. He looked at the smaller, who suddenly seemed to be very invested with the floor underneath his feet. The obvious excitement in his eyes warmed his heart. He would do everything for his kitten. What if they catch us, and you will never be able to see me again? When Kenma looked up this time, honest fear filled his eyes. Don't worry, kitten, they won't catch us, and even if they do, I always find a way. That's what I promised, after all. He took Kenma's hand and intertwined their fingers. He could feel that Kenma's were cold even through the glove. But if you don't want to go, if you're worried about your health and safety, I understand. We can always... I want to. He stared at Kuro determinedly. I want to. Please take me away from here, just for tonight. Kuro's smile returned, and he swiftly picked the smaller up and helped him to climb on his back. Okay, well, hold on tight, because there is only so much time until the sun rises. Kenma laughed. He let out a surprised yelp when the taller suddenly started to run and held on tightly to his neck. They ran along busy roads and abandoned alleys. It was the first time that Kenma really saw the city he lived in for his whole life. They avoided busy streets with a lot of passengers and shops, but Kenma could still see them from afar. He of course knew in theory that Tokyo was a huge city, but he would have never imagined that it looked like this. So many people, so many colors and lights. It was overwhelming. And they weren't even near to the center of the city. Kuro laughed when he noticed Kenma's stunned gaze. He accelerated his steps until they were at the top of a small hill from which you could see the city from afar. It was no one here but them. It's beautiful. Kuro hummed in agreement. Though I doubt that you would like it. A lot of people and a lot of loud noise. He chuckled. Even with the mask, Kuro knew that Kenma was pouting. Kenma, on the other hand, knew that Kuro was probably right. It was a beautiful sight, but he got tired just looking at it. There were so many sensations, noises, blinking lights, people, so many things you had to be aware of. He shivered slightly and leaned against Kuro. Are you cold? No. Just overwhelmed. He blushed. Kuro smiled, and even though Kenma denied it, pulled a blanket from the backpack and placed it around Kenma's shoulders. Thank you. Kenma smiled, which in his case was nothing more than his lips curling up ever so slightly. Kuro smiled as well and proceeded to pull another blanket from the backpack and spread it on the ground. He gently guided Kenma to sit down next to him. The blonde was still staring at the city and all the flickering lights. He was intrigued by the mesmerizing sight. It was unimaginable that all of this had always been so close, but he never noticed. How the walls of his house and the security glass he had been locked behind all his life could have kept all of this from him. Kuro watched the other fondly, absolutely in awe at the sight of his best friend and crush, so fascinated by a world that has been kept hidden from him all his life. Or rather, he has been kept hidden from the world. The happiness he felt in this moment was suddenly overshadowed by worry as silent tears started running down Kenma's cheeks, slowly soaking the seams of his mask. Kenma? What is it? Do you need something? Are you in pain? Kuro. Kenma turned around to face him and carefully pulled his mask down, revealing the brightest smile Kuro had ever seen on him. Thank you. He cried even more and attempted to wipe the tears away with his hands, soaking the gloves in the process. This is the best birthday present ever. Kuro disinfected his hands and grabbed a clean tissue before gently patting the tears away and caressing the soft skin through the fabric. It was a rare moment of intimacy between them, since they usually had to keep a certain distance. A delicate blush warmed Kenma's cheeks, and he leaned into Kuro's touch. He dwelled in Kuro's warmth. It felt amazing to be this close to him, and he wished he could stay like this forever. However, after a few more minutes, Kuro pulled his hand away with an audible sigh. He wanted this moment to last forever, but Kenma's health was more important. You should put your mask back on. It's not safe. Kenma nodded slowly, his eyes fixated on the ground. He looked almost disappointed, and Kuro recognized the familiar look of sadness mixed with frustration in his eyes. And I know it's bold and stupid for me to ask this, even selfish. If you could just give me a few more seconds to see your face while I give you your actual present, it would mean the world to me. When Kenma looked up, he was met with an affectionate smile and the warm brown eyes he could get lost in over and over again. My present? I told you I wanted to make the day special. But I thought... He glanced uncertainly towards the city. Getting you out here was so that I could have you all to myself, just for tonight. Another very selfish thing I did for myself. This time, however, his tone had shifted from serious to confident, and a cocky grin spread on his face. Kenma rolled his eyes and couldn't help the bubbly laugh escaping his throat when Kuro gasped dramatically. The Ravenet wanted to give another sarcastic remark, but the sight of Kenma laughing left him speechless. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen and heard. More carefree than the other had ever been since Kuro knew him. The older could have sworn his heart skipped a beat just then. Suddenly, everything seemed so simple. The uncertainty was replaced by warmth and affection. Kenma? Kenma's eyes widened slightly in surprise. It was as if the scenery had suddenly changed into something warmer. A hint of electricity seemed to linger in the air. Kuro? He hesitated, suddenly unable to speak. Kenma waited patiently, but he scrunched his nose a little in a way Kuro knew, which meant he was either annoyed or concerned. Considering how he looked at him, analyzing as if he searched for the reason behind Kuro's distress, it was the latter. The blonde looked unbearably cute when he did this. Stop that. What? I can't concentrate when you look this adorable. He grinned and feigned confidence. I'm not cute. He pouted as if that would make anything better. Yes, you are. It's the reason 38 why I love you. Kuro's heart almost stopped. He said the words faster than his mind was able to prevent it. If the warmth was an indicator for anything, he probably looked like a tomato right now. And the fact that Kenma was barely any better didn't exactly improve the situation. No, I mean yes, but like... Kenma got visibly confused, and Kuro could see that it made him uncomfortable. I'm sorry, this is not exactly according to plan. He chuckled nervously and Kenma frowned. Can I maybe give you a present now? The blonde nodded slowly and Kuro started rummaging in his backpack. He pulled out a little red box. It was thin and tied with a black ribbon, a small card attached to it. Kenma's name was written on it in gold, elegant letters, and he recognized Kuro's handwriting. The taller handed him the box carefully and waited patiently for the other to untie the ribbon and open it. Those are promise rings. Kuro looked nervously at Kenma, who was still staring at the two simple golden rings in the box. I thought that... No, Kenma, I love you. I have for years. Seeing you smile when I can make you smile, it brightens my day, and I want to give you everything this world has to offer. Starting with these rings, and starting with me, I guess. Kuro, please, let me finish. If he would stop talking, he might not find the courage to speak up again. You are amazing, Kenma. Smart, beautiful, kind. Ever since we met, you brightened my days and taught me so many new things. And I want to give something back. I promise you to get you out of that house as soon as I can. I promise to keep you safe, but no longer present. He took a deep breath, and for the first time since he started his speech, he dared to look at Kenma and was met with wide eyes. You don't have to love me the way I love you. I would never expect something like that from you. I just asked to stay by your side, and if you want me to, allow me to help you to leave the cage that was built around you. He searched for Kenma's eyes, but the other had turned his face away again. Please, look at me. He did, and guilt tightened his chest upon seeing the tears glistering in Kenma's eyes. I want that. What? I want that. He repeated himself more firmly and determined. I want to be with you as more than just friends. Kuro gulped and gently took the box from Kenma's hand before disinfecting his own, the ring, and Kenma's fingers after carefully removing the glove and placing the ring on it. He met his eyes again. I want that too. He hesitated, his face only a few inches from Kenma's. Oh, I'm sorry. Before he could pull away to give Kenma the space he needed to be safe, Kenma closed the distance between them and pressed their lips together in a bittersweet kiss. It only lasted for a second. Kuro's brain was still trying to process it. He couldn't decide between the pure bliss and horror flooding his system. He pulled away, slowly putting more distance between them. Kenma, what? The blonde grinned proudly and laughed at Kuro's baffled expression. That was dangerous. Slowly the anxiety took over as the thrill died down to a faint sense of electricity lingering in his lips. Kenma smiled sheepishly and wiped his lips with a tissue. It was worth it. He placed the mask back on his face, but Kuro could still see the glimpse of mischief in his eyes. How could it have been worth it if you die? Kuro was panicking. For all he knew, this little innocent gesture could kill Kenma. Silence lingered between them. Kuro, one thing I love about you is that you never treated me like I was fragile. Everyone else did. So please, don't start now. Kuro nodded slowly. His panic had succeeded to worry. I know, I'm sorry. And I want that more than anything. But I don't want to lose you either. Especially not now when I just promised to stay with you. Are you sure you want that? What? Kenma huddled himself deeper into the blanket. His hair fell down to the sides and covered most of his face from Kuro's view. Me, I'm not exactly easy, and my situation is troublesome. You can't even kiss me without having to worry about potentially killing me. Kuro thought about it for a moment. For him, the answer was as clear and as certain as the break of dawn. Yes. Kenma's head perked up. Yes, I do want that. When their eyes met again, Kuro's were filled with so much love and honest devotion that it rendered the smaller speechless. I don't care if I will get a few years with you or a lifetime, even though I certainly hope for the latter. All I want is the time you are willing to give to me. I want to show you the things you have been missing out on, and see you smile every day for as long as I can. I lived in this world most of my life without you, and I don't want to go back anymore. When the day comes when I have to, I'll find a way, but until then, let's enjoy the time we can spend together. Kenma felt new tears gathering in his eyes, bittersweet like the topic of a shared life that might end sooner than anybody could wish for. That is my promise. Kenma leaned against Kuro's shoulder, and they spent the night appreciating their little reality, in which it was just the two of them, alone and safe. Soon, Kuro would visit him again, and they would leave for good. A few more years, and Kenma could leave the golden cage behind, along with all the chains that were holding him. Soon. I'll stay by your side for as long as I can. That's my promise. The day of the wedding was the most amazing ever, even though it could barely have been more uneventful. There was no big celebration, no real ceremony even. Just the persons required to make the bond official, their parents, Kuro's crying and proud and happy for the young couple, Kenma's frowning disapprovingly, Bokuto as Kuro's best man and Hinata as Kenma's. And of course, Kuro and Kenma themselves. Bokuto and Hinata play currently in the same volleyball team, which is how Kenma got to know them. The ceremony consisted of a quick exchange of their vows and their rings, which were positioned directly above the promise rings they exchanged a few years ago. Kenma didn't die that day, and he couldn't be more happy about it. If he was perfectly honest, he doubted back then that Kuro could manage to keep his promise. He had been unstable for a while back then, not that he would ever tell Kuro about it, and gave in to the wish to at least kiss Kuro once in his life. But he survived, and Kuro kept his promise. He returned after university and proposed on the spot, much to his parents' deprecation. Even when he took his last step from the room that used to be his golden cage, they had nothing but pessimistic remarks and desperate pleas for him. He knew that they meant well, but he wanted to be free more than anything. He wanted to be with Kuro, the man that brightened his nights for years like the brightest star. The man who always kept him safe but never caged, and the man he loved more than life itself. Goodbye, Mom, Dad. He bowed before allowing Kuro, who said goodbye to his own parents, to pull him away. So. Kenma sighed and grinned as he felt Kuro's expectant gaze on him. Their carefree, bubbly laughter, which Kuro loved so much, returned. It's the best birthday present ever. The expression on Kuro's face could only be described as smug as he accelerated the speed of his car. Good, but we're not done yet. I have a few more presents for you, Kuro-san. Don't say it like that. It's your name, though. It sounds weird. He punched him lightly. Kuro laughed. Come on, kitten. I still have a lifelong promise to fulfill. Yes, you do. Thanks for watching the video to the end, and oh my god, was that... Well, I tried a new editing technique, and I hope the audio is fine. This is what I kind of altered. I think the moment I mastered it, it will maybe a possibility for me to make more and faster videos in the future, but oh my god, was I close to killing my PC right now. I mean, yes, I know what you're going to say, it's not the fault of the PC, but that was... Anyways, thanks for watching, I hope you have a wonderful day.